Oops, made myself dark. There we go. So, Webb versus Mcgowin. This is a fun one. So, Mr. Webb, the defendant in this case. Wait, no, the plaintiff. I'm tired. It's late. Mr. Webb, the plaintiff, was working at the heavy item factory, and his job was to push said heavy item down a hole onto the floor below. The boss man, Mr. Mcgowin, was standing at the bottom of the hole where the heavy things fall. Mr. Webb notices Mr. Mcgowin, and in attempting to save his life by stopping the thing from falling on him, injures himself. Mr. Mcgowin says, yes, I will pay you money for the rest of your life so you don't sue me and such. But also because he had he felt like he really should, which is good. It's good to pay your debts to society or to other persons. And that's great. And for years and years he does it until he dies, which is like 6 years later. And now the promise was to pay for the remainder of Mr. Webb's life. The company stops paying like 4 weeks after the promisor dies. And basically the court says, no, you got to pay, right? So when a promisee cares for, improves, or preserves the property of a promisor, a subsequent agreement to pay for the services is valid, right? So what is that to say is you have to pay for things. And if you promise to pay for them, you still have to pay for them, even if they already happened, right? Now you might be saying, whoa, past consideration is no consideration. Yeah, court in this case doesn't care. The past consideration is no consideration rule can basically boil down to if you already paid for something, you have to pay for it again, even if you promised to pay for it again. Right, in the Plowman case, they were saying, you guys were such good employees, we have no obligation to, but we're going to give you some money every week for the rest of your life. That is fine, you can do that, but you can also just withdraw whatever you want. Why can you withdraw it whenever you want? Because past consideration is no consideration. In this case, they were unjustly enriched. They have to pay for it. Now, they chose a method by which to pay for it, this promise. So they have to stick to it, right? So basically, here's a quote, right? It is well settled that a moral obligation is sufficient consideration to support a subsequent promise to pay where the promiser has received a material benefit. Material is important here. If you save my lamp from falling over, but it didn't matter if it fell, and I'm like, I'll pay you for saving my lamp. I'm not held to that because you didn't actually do anything. You didn't materially help me, right? If the lamp falling wouldn't have broken, I guess if the lamp falling would have broken, and I promised to pay you for it, then yes, it would be. But material benefit. It's important that this benefit is real, right? You can't have a nominal benefit. You can't have a fake benefit. It has to be a real, notable benefit. And so if we look at, go back to this. So if a material benefit, big significant, is received, a promise to pay for it is binding, even with no legal duty. This is going to be restatement section 86. That's not a quote, but that's where you're going to want to go for this principle. Right? Because he's acting in the scope of his employment, there's no unjust enrichment. If he'd been acting as a good Samaritan, then the promise to pay probably wouldn't have been binding. Because, right, they still need to be acting in a way they're supposed to be, right? I forgot to mention this part. I guess the lamp example doesn't work, right? Good Samaritans, even if you promise to pay them, are often not. But since he was an employee and he was doing his job, yeah, you probably do have to pay him. And also the other point is the court also points out that he partially performed, right? For years and years they've been paying him. Obviously they were planning on doing it. So partial performance on a promise is usually gonna not be helpful for you, right? So again, the court is based, so Good Samaritans, this wouldn't have applied because he's an employee and he's acting within the scope of employment, generally speaking. There are other cases with Good Samaritans that we'll get to at some point, but not yet.